Hello everybody, my name is Lucas Grunewald and this is History Abridged. We're doing something a little bit different today. A game came out recently called Come Deliverance. I have been waiting for it for a long time. My headphones are very, very loud. And I wanted to talk about it because the big marketing campaign or gimmick or whatever you want to call it was that this game is extremely historically accurate. They had historians and architects and lots of people like that, very qualified people, unlike myself, consulting on the game, making sure things are accurate and representational of the actual period. In saying that, this game takes place in the Kingdom of Bohemia in, I believe, 1403, right after the Holy Roman Emperor, Wenceslas the Idol, he's known as, was kidnapped by his brother Sigismund. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this is sort of taking place during the fallout of that. Sigismund has invaded Bohemia, and the main character had his village raided and went on this adventure, became like in the service of a certain lord. And we're gonna just kind of dive in. I'm gonna walk around. I've played this game a lot in the last week. I've finished the main storyline, so I'm just going to walk through one of the main towns and just kind of talk about the architecture, the costumes, the armor, what I like about the game, what I don't like about the game, that sort of stuff. So without further ado, let's go. This is one thing I don't like about the game. The loading times are fairly long. The ones when you're just loading up the game are fine. They take about 30 to 45 seconds, but when you talk to an NPC, for some reason it can take up to a minute to just load that conversation with the NPC, which is rather frustrating. But in a minute here, we'll just load up where I was. I'm just in a town called Rete. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Once we get this loaded up, the music is really nice too. I read somewhere that they hired a historian specifically, or maybe it was just they had some historians on staff, but they actually tried to make historically accurate music to the period, which is really interesting. All right, and here we are in Rutai. That is my horse right there. That is the bailiff, just coming up in my face for some reason. So this is something I wanted to talk about. Look at the costumes. Look at the costumes for all the peasants and the guards and my horse and whatnot. People are not dirty, and people wear colorful clothing, which I was super happy to see because so many movies and shows that take place in the medieval period have everyone always covered in mud. They don't wear anything other than gray and white clothes or brown clothes, things that don't need to be dyed, sort of thing. That's not the case at all as a very dirty man walks past. But people washed themselves. People had personal hygiene, and they had dye. They had dyes to color clothing with, which is something that so many TV shows and movies don't seem to understand, which really bothers me, but whatever. Sorry, I hit the mic there. That was unfortunate. So that was something that I wanted to talk about. The whole myth that people back then only washed once a year. That's not true. That's not true at all. And let's look at the architecture, which I found really fascinating. I wasn't so sure about it at first because the walls are colored. They seem to be go away. They seem to be covered in some sort of plaster. There's stone and wooden buildings that have like colored plaster on the sides, which is really fascinating. And I looked it up, and that is actually a thing that they did. They had plaster, and they died. What? Stop yelling at me! Jeez. All right, yeah, which is really fascinating. The architecture, from what I can tell, I'm nowhere near an expert, but this is apparently very accurate to the period. The type of architecture with the cross braces on the outsides of the building and the stone covered in plaster and whatnot. So that's apparently very accurate. And next thing I want to talk about are castles. So I'll get on my horse here and I'll ride up to the castle. Like I said, this is a fairly late game. So I have a very, very expensive horse and some horse armor and stuff like that. Not actual armor, but I can't remember how to pronounce it. But anyway, there is a castle. As you can tell, the textures take a little bit more time than most games to load, but that's fine. It's a little distracting. But look at this castle. Ah, it's so cool. This is my favorite part of this game, is just walking through the castles and looking at the architecture. They're just so cool. I like it a lot. And now we're going to move on to probably my favorite part of the game. That's the armor specifically, which I was really excited to see. We'll just open up my inventory here. This is my character here. As you can see, there's a lot of different kinds of armor, lots of different layers, which is awesome because a lot of games, you just throw on some plate armor and that's it, and you're good. And that's not really how armor works. There's a lot of layers. We'll go to my armor tab here. We have my helmet, my bell-shaped kettle hat. Take that off, but look, I still got chainmail and a padded coif. Let's take off the chainmail so you can see the padded coif. Oh, there it is. So I still got that padded coif, chainmail, and the bell-shaped kettle hat, which I'm super stoked about. And as for body armor, let's just take a bunch of everything off here. And the hauberk. Okay, so right now I'm wearing no body armor and just a shirt. That is the default. But all the layers you wear, you have a gambazin or a body garment. I have a decorated arming doublet because it was the best armor that also boosts my charisma. Just gaming stuff. But knights would wear gambazin, a sort of a padded armor on the bottom layer. Then on top of that, they would usually have chainmail. And then they'd have their plate armor. I have brigandine in this case, because it's better than all the plate. But I also have some pauldrons. Where'd they go? Gauntlets. Where am I? There they are. And then I also have this outer jacket, which boosts my armor, and I like the way it looks. So there's that. And then same thing for leg armor. We have the hose, fashionable blue hose. I have male chassis. That's how you pronounce it. I don't know. And then we also have plate chassis, which is so. What I'm getting at is there are a lot of layers when it comes to armor, and I was really excited about that because that's real. Like, it wasn't just plate armor or just chainmail or just gambazin. It was usually a fully armed knight and a soldier that has a lot of money will usually have all of that. Anyway, I also want to talk about the combat. So I'm just probably gonna cut away here so I can ride to a place where I can just someone there that I can train with. Yeah, let's just do a duel with Captain Bernard here.
I'm honored that you should.
Yes. All right. That's all quest stuff. You guys don't want to see. Let's train with a practice weapon.
Right. What weapon would you like to try? I've got a bat.
Got a bunch of different swords. So long sword, short sword, axe, mace, halberd, and hand to hand. We can train with this guy. I've used nothing but the long sword.
Entirely competent with the bastard sword. I'd like to
From
try
what
that.
I know, it's called the long sword, and
Grab your piece.
from
We'll
what
get
I
stuck
understand, no one ever called it a bastard sword. I could be wrong, but there's that. All right, so if you I'm getting beat up here. So if you notice the combat system, all these stances are largely he riposted me. They had HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts consultants, consult on the the combat system in this game. It's not 100% accurate from what I understand. I've done a little bit of HEMA, like a class here or there, but stop hitting me. And you were busting me. And they still have to make it a game. They need to telegraph their attacks so you can actually react in time. In reality, you don't have to use a controller, and that speeds up your reaction time. Get him. But a lot of these stances and the ripostes especially, I recognize from HEMA fights I've watched and the classes I've taken, which is really, really cool. It's probably the best representation I've seen of actual medieval combat. This is one style. There's a lot of different styles of HEMA, but bam, got him. So yeah, that's the longsword combat, which is it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool to see something that's relatively close to reality. Anyway, I'll end combat there. So yeah, that's more or less what I wanted to say about the game. It's really, really cool. I really appreciate the historical accuracy. I do have some problems with the game. The save system's kind of wonky. You actually need to use an in-game item to save, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. I mean, while playing the quests, they'll save for you once in a while, and every time you sleep, it saves. But like, if I've been playing and I notice it's late, I don't want to go find a bed in game to save. I just want to save and quit right there. But the game's not built like that. I get it because they want to increase immersion and whatnot, but I find that a little frustrating. The game glitches out a lot. I haven't had any major glitches during this little session, which is good. But I've had the game crash. I've had the game freeze. I've had music skip. I've had music just kind of stop and sound like a broken record. It just keeps going back like a half a second, which is really frustrating. A lot of times textures are missing. Lots of times character models just don't show up, especially in cutscenes, which is really frustrating. But excuse me. But overall, I've had a lot of fun with this game. I've sunk a lot of time in it, into it in the last week. It has its problems, but it is a really fun game, and I really, really appreciate the effort and time put into representing reality and actual history, which I really, really love. Most games and most TV shows and movies don't take the time for that. So that's the main reason I wanted to share this game with you guys. I think it's really neat, even if it has its problems. So anyway, that's everything I wanted to say about this game. If you guys like this video, it's a little bit different. If you want to see more of this stuff, I play a lot of different historical games like Mount & Blade, Warband, Crusader Kings 2, the Guild 2, stuff like that. If you want to see more stuff like this, let me know. If you don't want to see more stuff like this, tell me that too. But next time we'll be back to our regular bite-sized history lessons. But people walk into me and they yell at me, which is really annoying, but whatever. And then other people are just like, "Oh, I'm glad you stopped by." It's a weird NPC interaction thing. But I went off topic there. Point is, this was fun. I like this game. Really appreciate the historical accuracy. If you like this, leave it in the comment. If you have a suggestion for a future episode, leave that in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, this is History Abridged.